Welcome to History Recapped, where we break down the most powerful stories from the past. Today we're diving into the Iliad, one of the greatest epic poems ever written. It's a story of pride, rage, honor, gods and war, set during the final days of the legendary Trojan War, written by Homer. The Iliad is not the story of the entire war, but rather a window into the brutal clash between heroes and kings, and the gods who manipulate them. Let's explore the characters, the battles, and the lasting legacy of this timeless tale. Part 1. The legendary backdrop. The story begins 10 years into the Trojan War. The Greeks, or Achaeans, have been laying siege to Troy for a decade after Paris, a Trojan prince, abducted Helen, the wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta. Helen's abduction sparked a coalition of Greek kings led by Agamemnon, brother of Menelaus, and included legendary warriors like Achilles, the greatest fighter in the world, Odysseus, the clever tactician, Ajax, the mighty warrior, Nestor, the wise counselor. Troy is defended by King Priam, his sons Hector, Troy's greatest champion, and Paris, the Trojan army, supported by allies from across Asia Minor. But the Iliad is not about how the war started, nor does it tell how it ends. It focuses on one slice of the war, the wrath of Achilles. Part 2, the quarrel of Achilles and Agamemnon. The poem opens with a dispute. Agamemnon has taken Chryseis, a Trojan woman, as his prize. Her father, a priest of Apollo, begs for her return. When Agamemnon refuses, Apollo sends a plague on the Greek army. Under pressure, Agamemnon agrees to release Chryseis, but to maintain his pride he demands Briseis, the captive of Achilles. This public humiliation enrages Achilles. In his fury, Achilles withdraws from the war and refuses to fight. Without their greatest warrior, the Greeks begin to falter. This is the central theme of the Iliad, the destructive power of rage. Part 3. The gods take sides. The gods are not silent observers in this war. They actively intervene. Hera, Athena, and Poseidon support the Greeks. Apollo, Artemis, Aphrodite, and Ares side with the Trojans. Each god has personal motives, and their rivalries shape the battles. The gods manipulate the fates of men, sometimes saving them, sometimes allowing them to die, all according to divine whim and ancient grudges. For Part 4, the rise of Hector. With Achilles gone, the Trojans gain the upper hand. Hector, Troy's prince and greatest warrior, leads the charge. He drives the Greeks back to their ships and becomes the hero of the battlefield. Hector is not a one-dimensional villain. He is a dutiful son, a loving husband to Andromache, and a protective father. His courage and humanity make him one of the most complex characters in the epic. Meanwhile, Achilles remains in his tent, stewing in his pride. Part 5. The desperation of the Greeks. The Greeks suffer heavy losses. With morale crumbling, Agamemnon sends an embassy to beg Achilles to return. They offer treasures, honors, and even the promise of Briseis' return. Achilles refuses. His rage burns too deeply. He feels insulted, betrayed, and disrespected. Achilles even questions the very meaning of heroic glory. If the rewards are meaningless, why should he risk his life? This moment highlights the Iliad's deeper exploration of honor, mortality, and the personal cost of war. Part 6. Patroclus enters the war. As the Trojans press their advantage, Achilles' closest companion, Patroclus, can no longer stand by. He begs Achilles to let him enter the fight wearing Achilles' armor, to rally the Greek troops. Achilles agrees, but warns Patroclus to drive the Trojans back from the ships and not pursue them further. Patroclus leads the Greeks with tremendous success, pushing the Trojans to the gates of Troy. But in his overconfidence, he disobeys Achilles' warning. Hector confronts Patroclus and kills him in battle. This is the turning point of the story. Part 7. The return of Achilles. Patroclus' death shatters Achilles. Grief consumes him. His rage now shifts from Agamemnon to Hector. Achilles reconciles briefly with Agamemnon, arms himself with new armor forged by Hephaestus, the god of fire, and returns to the battlefield with one goal: vengeance. Achilles' return is devastating. He slaughters Trojans by the hundreds and pushes their forces back to the city walls. The gods themselves watch in awe and fear. Zeus knows Achilles is unstoppable. Part 8. The Death of Hector. The climax of the Iliad is the duel between Achilles and Hector. As Achilles approaches, Hector's courage falters and he flees. Achilles chases him 3 times around the walls of Troy. At last, Hector stops, facing his fate. The gods trick him into thinking he has backup, but he stands alone. Achilles kills Hector with a spear thrust and then dishonors his body, dragging it behind his chariot around the walls of Troy. This brutal image becomes one of the most haunting in all of ancient literature. Hector's father, King Priam, bravely enters the Greek camp to beg Achilles for his son's body. In a rare moment of compassion, Achilles is moved by Priam's grief. He returns Hector's body, allowing the Trojans to hold funeral rites. Part 9. Themes and enduring power. The Iliad is a story of glory, rage, grief, fate, and the human condition. It raises timeless questions. What does it mean to live a good life? Is glory worth the cost? Can humanity exist in the midst of war? Achilles begins as a man of pride, but ends as a man who understands grief. Hector is a tragic hero, courageous and noble, but doomed. The gods are petty, capricious, and self-serving, but even they cannot alter fate. The Iliad teaches that death comes for everyone, even the mightiest, and what we leave behind is the legacy of our choices. Part 10. Aftermath and Legacy. The Iliad ends not with the fall of Troy, but with Hector's funeral. The fall of the city, the Trojan horse, the sack of Troy, and the deaths of Achilles and Paris come later in other myths and in Homer's follow-up, the Odyssey. But the Iliad's power comes from its focus, a single slice of the war told with raw emotion and brutal clarity. For thousands of years, the Iliad has been the foundation of Western epic storytelling. Its influence can be seen in everything from modern war films to superhero narratives. The Iliad is more than just an ancient poem. It's a reflection on what it means to be human, to fight, to rage, to love, and to lose. Achilles' rage may drive the story, but his grief defines it. Thank you for watching History Recapped. If you enjoyed this journey through the Iliad, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Would you like us to cover the Odyssey next, or the full story of the Trojan War?